Hey, Emily Miller.
Hi, Kate Richberg. I was reading
I
the
have,
little tiny bits of blurbs going by here on the chat, on the YouTube chat.
and I had when I was changing the things, I had a quick flash of you and I. So I'm glad we weren't doing anything bad.
No, I just was looking. I was seeing if that coyote was going to make another appearance. He was the talk of the neighborhood the last couple days.
Right.
Multiple people saw him besides me, so I know it happened. And
Right.
yeah, I was just reading up about everybody's heat index warnings.
Oh my gosh.
Hydrate, babes. Hydrate. I am always drinking
Hydrate.
something, iced tea, lemonade, and iced tea. I've got a water jug over there. Yeah.
I got it right here.
Out here too, for sure.
So some quick stuff. I'm hearing from somebody that there's an echo. I don't think there is. Oh yeah, I didn't think I had an echo. Yep, Myra had 2 windows open. So yep, no, there's no echo. No echo. Making sure don't freak me out that way, please. I'm telling you, not this week, my friends.
Not today.
Not today. Not today. Hey, but today we do have a couple of things. Let me put this up, this banner up here so all you all can see it. I've made you all a special coupon code today. Today's the 21st. Emily's going to talk about mixes. I'm going to talk a little bit about mixes. I might even pull out some mixes that I have here. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? Whatever. You've got all your 11s and stuff, but let me know if you want to. I don't even know where they are, so let me know. We have a coupon code for all you all. It's Mix25, and you can save 25% on all Miyuki and check glass beads because Emily's going to be using a bunch of those today. It's a viewer exclusive coupon code, so it's only here on the broadcast. So make a note, Mix25 at checkout, and you'll save 25% on all the beads. So I'm going to keep flashing that periodically throughout the broadcast. So, but it's Mix25. Let me put the coupon code there. And again, today is Friday, June 21st, so it expires at midnight tonight. Okay, so it looks like everybody's here.
I think so. I'm just about to lose a question from Leslie about how the heck do you get beads on the needle with a bead thingy, the one Emily used. I'm assuming that you're talking about the bead spinner. And the bead spinner means that you have to use a curved needle. And they do generally kind of come together, although I don't know that they are always sold together. They may be sold separately because you may want to buy more needles.
Yeah, we're going to carry them both.
Goes with the bead spinner.
We're going to get them both. We're going to get that bead spinner. And Janice has found the curved needle, all of that stuff. So stay tuned.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm super glad. I do think it's kind of a specialty pricier tool, but when you want to load a bunch of beads up on string, there isn't anything better.
Right. It's fast, I'll tell you. And,
yeah.
You've been working on so much, so many seed bead things that especially with this bracelet that you did on Wednesday.
Yes.
It was great. Robin is saying, and I don't know if you've done it, but you can use memory wire with the bead spinner. That's what Robin's saying. So
that doesn't surprise me because you can hold the curve of the memory wire right in there and
goes right on. Sure. And you can find it, Teresa, everything at beadshop.com, but it's beadshop with the .com, of course, on our website. So I'm not remiss. Let me throw up our tile here. I'm going to cover you for just a second, Emily. Find us, of course, always Facebook, Insta, Pinterest. Hit that like and subscribe button over on YouTube. If you want to tag us on social, use that beadshop.com with dot spelled out. And if you have any questions, email us. Jury is on the other side of the computer at info@beadshop.com. Janice might be popping in today. She had a big day today, a lot of appointments, a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to be here. I'm going to link stuff and everything if we need it done. But Janice may or may not pop in. She's a busy lady today. So,
So this seems to
um,
be that you've been turning the spindle and only two beads. So double check that you're turning the spindle so that you're making kind of a river of beads, that the needle goes in against the river.
oh, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
you're turning the spindle. It doesn't matter whether you go left or right. I am right-handed, so I tend to hold the needle in my right hand.
right.
Curve of the needle goes in the bowl at about 7:30 or 8 o'clock on the clock face of the bowl, and I'm
Mhm.
turning the bowl counterclockwise. So
Counterclockwise, right.
the needle hook's going in, and and there's a little bit of a sweet spot that you have to find with the bead spinner.
Mhm.
When you don't have enough beads in, that will affect how well it works. Once in a while, you'll get a bead that is a little bit the hole's a little bit too small, and it'll stick on the end of the needle, and then no beads will go on. So you have to
Right,
fix that. And then
right.
I do think it just takes a little bit of kind of practicing where you want that hooked needle, that curved needle, in the stream of the beads.
Mhm.
You don't, if you push it all the way in till it hits the bowl, the bottom, then no beads are going to go on. And if you're not
Mm.
dipping in the stream dip at all, then no beads are going to go on. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a feel for it, but I
Mhm.
do think everyone gets it. You just have to kind of monkey around
Play
yourself.
around with it, yeah. And
When
when we get it, Emily, we'll have you,
That sounds great, Kate. I was
do it
going to
all
say
again.
we can do a 10-minute, 15-minute round on that for
Yeah,
sure.
that'll be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna put that coupon code back up now just so you folks know what's going on. I'm gonna add Emily's camera to the mix here, but before we do, Emily, people are talking about the weather. We have a chatty, especially on Fridays. We're a
Chatty
bunch of
chatty. Of course.
chatters. I like it. Do you know what's on my dress here? Can you see it?
It looks like little thought bubbles,
It's close. Let me show
or
you.
is it little signs?
They're steakhouse signs because it is hot enough to fry a steak on the sidewalk.
Well, we're only going to get to 102 tomorrow, they say. And I've lived here now 4 years in the Sacramento Valley, and I'm still kind of getting a handle on the fact that it doesn't cool off when the sun goes down. I'm so used to being at,
Right,
1,500
in
to
the Bay
2,000
Area,
feet
right,
elevation.
or even in the Bay Area
Yeah.
where it cools off.
Yeah, where the minute the sun starts to dip, 3 o'clock, it starts cooling off. The breeze comes in, Carl, the fog comes in, whatever, it changes. And here, between 4 and 6, it's actually getting hotter.
It is.
So I don't want to go outside and barbecue. Like people are like, oh, shouldn't you cook outside? I'm like,
No, no.
no, I'd rather stay in the air conditioning
Yeah.
and cook inside. But
No, exactly.
I do love hanging out a few towels and blankets and things and having them dry like in a
Yeah,
second
like
or two.
instantly.
That's kind
Well,
of cool. But
Emily lives at the top of the Central Valley near Sacramento, where
yeah,
the Central Valley starts. I live closer to the bottom of the Central Valley where Fresno is, and you go further down. Central Valley kind of ends at Bakersfield. And that long, long, long hundreds of mile stretch is, that's where we grow all our food, a lot of our food here in California, though some grows on the coast.
yeah,
But yeah, it doesn't, because we're in the middle of two mountain ranges.
yes, yeah.
So there's no,
I mean, if I'm on the freeway, I can see the Sierra Nevadas,
yeah,
Tahoe,
yeah,
Turkey
they're
up
right
there, and
there.
there's some snow
Yeah,
up in
there's
those
snow.
hills.
I can see
But
them.
behind me, going towards the coast, is lower mountains, and we're all down to gold and green now at this point.
Yeah,
Those
exactly. Yep,
amber
it's the
waves.
Golden State.
Yes.
Gold.
Oh,
It
and
is.
I don't. I can do heat pretty well up to about 106, 107 or so. And then when it gets to that kind of temperatures, then I shut down. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
go outside
No,
anymore.
you're better than me. I'm like over 100 and I'm like,
Thanks, but no
Right.
thanks.
Yeah, but I'm getting a little more acclimated.
Yeah.
So Leslie has another question about, she says, when I practice Emily, then how many tubes make a bangle? So you had the 25-gram tube from the Stinson mix, right?
Right.
And that definitely made a bangle, and you had a bunch left over.
Yeah, and it depends on there's a couple of factors that you could take into account. How tight you crochet. I tend to crochet fairly tightly,
Mm-hmm.
which means my piece is very compact and kind of has some
Mm-hmm.
body on its own.
Same.
And also a little bit on kind of what thread you're using, because that may give some stretch and no stretch. I would consider Ceylons across the board as a non-stretch thread. So it's a thread that has no forgiveness, no give at all. You might be able to stretch it enough to take the curls out of it, but that's
Right.
about all the stretch you're going to get out of it. There's almost none. And then the other factor is, of course, how big a bangle are you making? I mean, it depends. Juria asked me the same question earlier in the week, and I was like, well, there's about 3 answers I have to give you to answer just one question. But
Right.
it depends on all those things. I actually find using inches of beads strung as a little bit better gauge for bead
Mm-hmm.
crochet. So my my typical response is, how many beads do I need to make a bracelet? Strung beads. So for every 6 inches of strung beads, you're going to get about a half an inch of bead crochet. Okay. So if I want to make something that's 7 inches long,
I'm
that
going to
would
write
be
that down.
14 6-inch pieces, or about 7 times 6, 14, 7 times, 14 times 6, to give me kind of inches. So I'm looking at about 48 to maybe 58 inches, depending on what we're thinking. 42 to 48 to 52 inches, depending on how big a bangle you're making.
So
Um,
tell me that formula one more time, Em, because I'm going to write it down right here for
okay.
me.
So for every 6 inches of strung beads,
6 inches strung
gives you
beads
about a half an inch of bead crochet. And that's going to vary again. That's also going to vary a little bit.
with
I'm
size
just
of the
talking like
beads.
eights are kind of that middle size, right?
Right, right.
I
So this is mostly for 8/aughts
Yeah, I
ish.
don't think I've ever bead crocheted with 15s. I've done it with 12s, check 12s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've gone down to a 15. I mean, it can be done. You can bead crochet with pretty much anything, but it gets very fiddly at those very smaller sizes. Eight's a good place to kind of, it's big enough to be able to see what you're doing, but it's doesn't feel like you're working with plastic pony beads from Joann's,
Right, right.
which you can work with too. I've taught bead crochet on those as well, and they make a
And it
big
works.
chunky thing.
A nice chunky one.
Yeah.
Well, I came up with 45 inches for me.
Okay.
If I am making my bracelet with 8/aughts, 7.5 inches comes to
40.
45
So
inches
I would string
total.
up extra
Yeah. So
just in
I'm
case.
gonna go with 50. I'm gonna go with 50 inches.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a
About.
great, and 50 inches is some management, some thread and beads to manage, but it's not
Right.
insane.
Right.
It's not miles and miles. Oh, look at that.
So
Nice.
I'm getting there. Let me measure. I know this is kind of a piggybacking on your last week's show, and we're going to get to the mixing, but I'm super excited about this because I used to bead crochet a lot more, especially at Bedissimo. We would make these bracelets. I think you taught me how to do it so long ago. So this is 10
No, I don't think it
inches.
wasn't me. If you were doing it at Bedissimo, it wasn't me.
I thought I learned from you. Then I can't remember who I learned from.
I
I don't know.
definitely taught Cynthia.
You definitely taught Cynthia, and maybe
Um,
that's when it renewed my bead crochet
Maybe. Yeah.
interest. But I've made like 5 or 6 of them. They're really fun. So this is 10 inches. So I really only have 4 more of these units to go. And what I'm doing, like what you were saying about stripes and patterns, I know it's kind
Sure.
of hard to see and I don't have my camera up, but I'm using the 8/aught copper, which I've used before, the Picasso red and the Picasso red and the regular red.
Right.
So we'll see. I don't know. It
Yeah.
might not have enough contrast, but it'll be subtle.
It might just be subtle. That's okay though.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, it's, mixing your beads and kind of coming up with a happy mix it can be a little challenging. Right after college, I had a roommate who was a printmaker, and he kind of overworked his prints a bit, in
Mm.
my opinion. And so his primary kind of color was like brown. And I
Oh,
find that if you mix kind of colors too much, or don't have enough contrast between them, you end up with something that's kind of muddy, that's kind of
yeah.
low I don't, low detail.
Yeah, low detail. I could see that.
And that
It's
can, you can have something that has a background that has low detail. I mean, I have a low
mhm,
detail top on. You have a high
mhm,
detail top on. It's, there's no wrong answer. It's just
mhm.
what you kind of want to have
Right,
and
what you
kind of want
like.
to do.
But I think that's the same also, with like quilting, when we quilt or when we knit or when we do,
Hmm.
it's like we look at kind of how we get that pop of color in there for sure.
Right.
Um, there was another question. Oh, two things. So bead spinners, folks, are going to be in a few weeks, so hang tight.
Mm,
Also, we have 60 tubes of Stinson beads. Janice put them in the mail to our fulfillment center yesterday.
awesome.
They're gonna be in next week. Drea is gonna put it in the newsletter. So stay tuned to your newsletter because there is a ton of you on the notification list and only 60 tubes. So when you get that notice or that newsletter that they're in, um, don't wait if you want a Stinson Beach. It's coming. Um, so Em, I'm going to add your other camera
Okay.
in.
Do it.
I'm going to take out, I'll put the coupon code back up a little bit later, but again, it's 25% off all the Miyukis. That means all the Miyuki shapes, all of that, and then all the check glass. So that also includes things like the 2-hole beads, the the age check, all of that. So you'll get a nice discount on your mixes today. Let me go ahead. I'm going to solo this here.
Hey, Kate, you might be able to answer Leslie's question about Mum's the Word mix from November 22. What
Uh,
size
I'll
beads?
look. It should say on the mix, on
Wasn't
the
it like a
recipe
recipe for it?
itself. Let me look.
I
Or
have a feeling it dates, but
was it a special mix?
I think
Let
it's
me look.
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
I'll look it up. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually looking at the bead mixes today also because, believe it or not, I was actually able to put my hands on my tube of Hair Festival mix. I couldn't believe I actually could find this this morning. I was so lucky that I found that. Pear Festival was a mix I did way back in 2019 with Kate. In fact, this is really the only mix that I've done kind of just my own picking. And then I think this bead embroidered pear was also
Yes,
made out of the pear mix, although
we
I
love
didn't use
that so much.
blue Padre in there. I used all the other colors, but not the blue, and only one of the white ones. So anyway, the Pear Festival is coming to Kelseyville again at the end of September. I'm not going to attend this year. I shouldn't say I'm not going to attend. I'm not going to be there vending, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a haul up there with all my gear. And when I set up my booth at the farmer's market, I have what one of my neighbors, my male vending neighbors, called a lot of infrastructure. Um, because he's a very simple setup,
I
and
love it.
wow, you have a lot of infrastructure. And I'm like, I do. I do. You're right. So,
I love
you
it.
know, all my ladies and my shelves and my racks and bits and pieces. So anyhow, um,
I love it.
this Pear Festival was a really great mix, and I think it's a really pretty mix. I think it worked great for bead embroidery. It would be fun to actually recreate this all one size. So there's a bunch of things we can talk about with bead mixes, and kind of today my focus was a little bit more on mixes for bead crochet, but all of these things you can apply kind of across the board. Generally, if I'm doing a mix for bead crochet, I'm going to keep them all in one size. And because I'm going to use the bead spinner to load my beads onto my thread, it doesn't differentiate. So it won't put a large bead every sixth one, or
Right,
three
right,
small ones together. It's all just going to be kapakai in there mixed together. So
right.
most of what I was planning to talk about today was really kind of going for one size of bead in your mix, but you can absolutely do multiple sizes of beads in your mix, and don't ever feel that it's a wrong thing, right? To do
Right.
that, do what makes you happy, and I guess too, this is sort of it's kind of a weird beginning point. I didn't really think about this initially, but when you're making a mix for yourself, you may actually want to think about what you're planning to make with it.
Right.
I know it's a revolutionary idea,
I look
but
crazy.
I think a lot of our bead shop mixes they're sometimes kind of geared towards a project or a process, but you're not sure if you have a mix of sizes that you're going to get exactly the right number of size A or
Mhm.
B to fit in a particular project. So you may use them for laddering, or you may use them for bead embroidery. But when we're talking about things that are all the same size, it kind of works better for bead crochet.
Um, Let me tell you just real quick,
Sure.
2 things. Number 1, someone asked about the Stinson Beach mix. That was the mix that we used on Wednesday, and that's what you're seeing on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
camera right now. So that's gonna be back. That's the Stinson Beach. I also linked the Mum's the Word recipe. It was used 8s and 6s. If you click on that link, all of our mixes that we've done, the monthly mixes, if you click on them and scroll down, you'll see um, the exact beads, if we still carry them, that are in the mix. So you can recreate it yourself. You just have to buy a tube of each. And lastly, Emily,
Yeah.
Janice and I were talking about Fair Festival, and
Oh.
Janice is gonna, you're gonna hear this from her. The two of you are gonna remake it.
Oh, oh, I'm
That's what
excited. I'm
she
excited.
really wants. She's all, let's do Pear Festival again.
Well,
So
and maybe I
it'll
was
be
thinking
Pear
about
Festival
Pear
too.
Festival. I was thinking about Pear Festival too, or Pear Festival as I got it out, and I was thinking, gosh, could I do like a brick stitch earring with this? I could do a brick stitch bracelet with this. I could do the textured fringe bracelet, which I have a bunch of those to kind of talk about too, as well as for mixing. But there's a bunch of things I could do with this. I probably just wouldn't use it for bead crochet, right?
Right, right,
Because of that mixed of sizes. And
right.
um, one of the things I love about bead crochet is I love the regularity of it. And if you do a pattern with another shape or another color, another size, that's fine. I just love this kind of dense rope effect
Same.
material. That's just
Yeah,
what I just love. So
agreed.
um, Stinson Beach is all beads that are Picasso finished. And I want to let you know too about Picasso finish. Picasso finish is a kind of a last finish that goes on these beads. And that last finish gives them that little kind of speckled, irregular browned finish. And it's an old finish. It used to be something that was popular way back, and I'm going to say maybe the 40s or the 50s, because it
Yeah,
makes these beads look like stone.
right.
And then it kind of went out of fashion, and we went into brighter colors, and it kind of went away. And now it's having a little bit of a resurgence. And if you look kind of carefully at these different Picasso finishes, you can see that they have different levels of density of finish, right? So sometimes the finish is quite heavily applied, and sometimes it is more irregularly and lightly applied, right? And when they do it on a stripe, you get this really great aged appearance that is so really kind of lovely. But what I did just to find out a little bit more about this mix was I broke it down by scooping out a small amount and breaking it into its different components. And a lot of times when you look at a mix, you might just sort of assume that there's sort of equal amounts of each bead inside. But if you look at this bangle that is made from an irregular mix of beads of the mix, you can see that have it doesn't have the same amount of each color as you look
Right.
at the whole thing. So I'm gonna make a guesstimate, and this is of course without counting, that it's maybe something like 10%, 10%, 10%. So that'd be like 30%, right? And then maybe 20, that makes 50, and then another 50% into the blue.
Mhm.
So, if we're gonna bend our mix towards a blue color, then we want to kind of start with that larger quantity of that bigger color and then mix in the others. Red I think it's a very powerful color, and it is a color that I think in clothing design and clothing and apparel and in um, interior design, you often hear people say, "Oh, well, just we need a pop of red." You need a pop of something that's got kind of no relationship to these other guys, right? And I talk about using the rainbow kind of combo all the time, or a color wheel. So this blue and this green would actually be fairly close to one another on the color wheel, as would this kind of mustardy brown with the heavy Picasso and this lighter kind of tan opaque with stripes. Those would be kind of close to one another on the color wheel, but they would all be fairly far away from this red. So when you add in something that has distance on the color wheel from your other colors, what you're adding is a little bit of tension in the
Right.
colors, and you're
Right.
adding a little bit of dynamism. I sometimes you can think of it as push pull. So if we look at a color wheel and blue and orange are across the color wheel from one another. Sorry, I don't have my color wheel right here in front of me. I was just looking at my tray here and seeing if I happen to have it beside me, but I guess I don't. Blue and orange across the color wheel would be quite dynamic because they are pulling apart. They're pulling away from one another in
Mhm.
color terms. So when you add that little bit of red or orange or a contrasting color to the other colors, you're getting that dynamism. With beads, we also have opaque, transparent, matte, silver lined, gold lined, color lined, and all those combinations can be intermingled also, which makes things really challenging. So I tend to look kind of with an unfocused eye at this to try and get a representation more of a color rather than taking into account the finish and all of the other applications that can be applied to it. So having that kind of combo of colors together, and maybe this is more like, I don't know, maybe this is 8% and this is 10 and this is 12 and this is 20 and that's 50. I don't know. In those kind of ranges, I think that's a good way to kind of dissect a color palette that you see that you like, that you want to maybe move into another size, or you want to replicate, for another purpose. Then maybe you don't want to do bead crochet and you want to have some other sizes in here. We could absolutely pick some other sizes in other shapes of beads to go in here, but still kind of keep that same color blend and family kind of going together.
I'm
Right?
gonna add the color wheel, Emily,
Oh, thank you.
um that, here, let me see if I can do it, that Cynthia made for us a while back. It's really we
I've
did it
got
on.
that color wheel right here in my little I have a little
There we
rolling
go.
bit beside my workstation.
So see here, I'll put us let me rearrange us right here, And let me
There
do
it is.
that. And let me do this. And let me put this color wheel there. So this is the one that Cynthia did the last time she was here. And I know that I promised to put this up, and I bet I didn't. So I'll have to get that going. But you can see she did this kind of nice blend. She calls it the floral color wheel. So
Hmm.
you can kind of see where these tonal colors and everything come in. It's really a pretty thing. And you can see the
Right. So see the orange and the blue kind of across
mhm,
directly across from one another on the wheel. That gives you that dynamism. So that same
mhm,
thing could apply with red and green. They're kind of across, far away from one another on the color wheel, and they give each other kind of a push and pull of color and contrast.
mhm.
Doesn't kind of blend with one another terribly easily. You need to have some other colors to make it blend into that color
And
range.
what I really love about Cynthia's wheel is, and it's hard to see on camera because, it's not as, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. It's the colors might not be quite as true, but
Mm,
she did this, I think, with acrylics.
mm.
So there's a lot of subtlety in each little flower petal. So this representing the yellow, it really is. I know it looks a little more mustardy. In real life, it's almost like a neon yellow. And then right across from that kind of cool, like almost hyacinth color.
I'm gonna grab a
So,
book, Kate. I'll be right back.
okay, sure, sure. So, it's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead while Emily's doing that. I'll put it here. If you folks, let me make sure I get Cynthia's, let me arrange this so you can screenshot it. Okay, let me make it pretty so you can screenshot it. I want to make sure that we are crediting our Cynthia in it. There we go. Let me make it pretty. Um, there we are. Okay. And so yeah, this is kind of a lighter blue. That's more of a purple, and that's between like a purple and the pink. If you check out the episode that Cynthia was actually making this in, it was the last time she was here, and it's under like master classes, um, broadcasts with Cynthia Thornton. Um, and so you'll see it, you'll see how she talked about color. But yeah, so this is kind of the color wheel that works with her eye. You could do the same. I think what we have, let me go look. Let me go look under learning, under blank design templates. Yes. If you look, Cynthia has made, I'm going to download the template and I'm going to give you that template in the chat, and then I'll add this window. Bear with me here just a second. I've got to juggle a bunch of stuff now. Here's Cynthia's color wheel template for you to color in. Let me share my screen, and let me make sure I'm going to share the right screen that I don't share anything else with you. Here it is. Let me share this. So you can see here with Cynthia's, let me scroll up so
I
you can see
cannot
it.
find my book on color, and I'm terribly upset.
Oh,
I have
well,
a really good book that has shoot, I don't know what happened to it. Anyway,
but you can see it here. Oh, let me share this tab right here. Um, you can see that's from the download page. So you can see that she's kind of written out which colors she's laid in there. And you can use any medium to lay on this template. You can lay beads on it, you can paint on it, you can use your colored pencils or whatever, but it's all there. It's in our design templates. Emily's done a lot of our design templates as well for seed beads and stuff. And so we added this one in. It's the Green Girl color wheel template. It's
that's
super
definitely
helpful.
what I need to do myself. There's nothing like kind of doing that yourself.
Yeah.
muscle memory gets in there, and it gets you a really great um, kind of a live feel of it, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, there we go. That might be better to share. I think it's really, that looks a little bit better. You can also screenshot this. But yeah, you decide. I mean, she did this all kind of, we were working with beads. And so she did her colors how she wanted them. But you can see it goes, all the blues are a little bit of a variation. And so she just did this, with her colors, with her color
Yeah.
wheel. So you can kind of play around. I mean, there's no, when it comes to mixing color, there's no, hard, fast rules. I mean, there's some rules for sure, but they're certainly open to uh, interpretation, not
Absolutely.
precipitation. Let me go ahead. I'm going to put your
Yeah,
mixed
too.
spot
So,
back and
no,
get back on task.
I've done a little bit of color mixing in a couple of different areas where I've really
Mhm.
enjoyed playing around with color combinations and putting them in. And I do have some small rules that I
Right.
kind of tend to play with. This is a particular design that I love to do.
Oh, I just love it.
We've done this as a class here online way back. I think we called it textured fringe.
Yeah,
And
I'll find
here's a
it.
green one that I did. And then there's the green seed bead mix to go with it, right? And I don't have these numbers for you. These are a million years old.
Right. From a
And
lot
as
of from your
well as
stash.
kind of doing whites and mixing to give you kind of textures and creams. Um, I have an orange one that's in progress. And embarrassingly, I did not write down any of these color combinations. They're lost to time and space. But using those color combinations gives me a lot of depth to these textured pieces. And it really does, I think, give it something that's unique. It's something that only I would come up with and only I have ever done. So I like having that kind of control over my mixed pieces. It really
Oh,
makes
that
me
was
happy.
so, those textured fringe pieces, Emily, that you do. I just put the um the link in the chat. And you can find the ones that Emily did. But those, I've seen all of those in person, and they are
They're very
magical.
fun. They're a lot of fun to do. A terribly long project. It's not for the faint of heart and takes forever. So, but a good fun project to do with a mix of beads, and even to play with a mix that you've made, and maybe you need to tweak it in a direction um, that because you didn't love what you came up with, right? And that's okay too. You can make things and not love what you've come up with. Uh,
And real quick, Emily, sorry, I have a quick question. I don't want to forget it. Susan is asking the technique for the orange necklace. That's the textured fringe. Is that
yes,
right?
it
Would,
is.
would you flash it? Do you have it right there real quick?
Mm-hmm. Hold on. The orange
That's
one
the
is in
textured.
progress.
Mm-hmm.
So these are a lariat. They're long. These are in progress. Um, Basically, I make my base row, and then I do my fringing from one end of the lariat to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And these lariats are looking like about 50 inches long.
Yeah, they're so gorgeous.
And so I do one style of fringe, one whole length, and then I start going back the other way with another style of fringe. And here's what it looks like. This is the blue one.
And so the Emily makes a bracelet in the project that we did here on Bead Shop. It's really gorgeous. There's some other colorways. So once
Yeah.
you conquer that bracelet, you can lengthen
Oh
it,
yeah.
lengthen it, lengthen it.
You can go, here's one all in,
That, I love that one.
you
I
know.
just, that is with the stripes and some of that African Christmas beads, right, Emily?
I don't think there's any actual African Christmas beads in here,
Oh
but
my gosh, it reads Christmas
it,
bead, doesn't it?
it's following that pattern.
Oh god,
And
it's so
actually, Christmas
gorgeous.
beads were something I got out today to kind of talk about for inspiration and for
Oh,
um, something that you might look at to emulate.
well,
I
that
do
was clever of
think
me.
I do think it's really hard to start something kind of from scratch with no. You need some inspiration. You need
Mhm.
something that's giving you um, a color combo to kind of work off of. Something you need a jumping off point. Starting out cold is, I think, very difficult. You need a little. I think you need a little tiny bit of a um, a goal in mind of kind of what you're after. Christmas beads are trade beads from Africa. So these are beads that were probably made in the last 50 or 75 years, possibly a little bit older. They're European made, so Czech, maybe some French, some German, maybe traded into Africa and then brought out again. And the couple of features that they tend to always have in common is kind of a yellow cast or yellow base overall. So there's like a black and yellow bead. There's a red and yellow bead. There's a red, yellow, and green bead. There's some plain yellow beads, some bigger beads, some long beads. But I think most of the time when you see crystals, they tend to have that yellow kind of cast over them. And then
Mhm.
all the other rainbow colors mixed in. I've always had a real love for beads with stripes, which is a subcategory of all the beads that we work with. And having that kind of little subcategory is kind of fun to play with. I think this bracelet, all of the seed beads are striped seed beads,
God, I love that bracelet.
right? And then there are little kind of wedge beads. There's some flower beads. There's some other little shapes that I used on the fringes. There's some check fire polish. I also have a real love for beads that are opaque. And it's not that I don't like transparent beads, but I really am drawn to the opaque beads. I mean, these are a transparent cobalt, but it reads quite dark. So it's
Yeah.
almost an opaque bead,
Well,
right?
you really use opaques. The way you color mix and the way you work with opaques is really, I think it's really, sometimes I have a hard time with opaque because of all the color saturation. And I'm like, I'm just going to throw in a transparent. But you really mix those opaques very well. Like the bracelet that you just did, the brick stitch, the square stitch, the Mondrian is what I'm trying to
Oh,
say.
yeah. Yep. You know,
So,
I don't know
so
why
beautiful.
opaques resonate so much with me. I kind of have a feeling that for me, mixing in transparents and opaques is a little bit like mixing something across the color wheel. It's a little
Mhm.
more dynamic. And I guess my go-to is to kind of put to control a little bit more what's going on, taking
Mhm.
away a variable, if you want to look at it that way.
Right.
So if I work just in opaques, I know that I have a certain amount of variables. If I throw transparents or silver lines in, then I have a different set of variables that I have to.
Right.
So I do think sometimes it's it literally limits me a little bit, and that makes it easier,
Mm.
or maybe less chaotic,
Mhm.
or allows me to have a broader range in this one kind
Mm.
rather
Hey,
than.
that's really interesting. Mary's saying here she was just going to ask if the saturation level is what draws you to the opaques. Also, Maureen, one of the participants in my France retreat, she's a
Mm,
huge fan of yours, Emily, and she's made that square stitch, the Mondrian. She made
oh,
several of them, and she wore them all through the retreat.
oh, I'm
And I'm
so glad.
sorry, I didn't take. I'm going to look and see if I do have photos of them. But we talked a lot about you, Emily, actually, when we were designing at the retreat. Tina Lutz was talking, Tina Vianney.
Mhm.
Maria, everyone was talking about, we were talking about contrasting uh, beading styles and stuff. And that's when Maureen was showing her fringe bracelets and stuff. So you
Awesome.
were definitely invoked. I don't know
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah,
if
yeah,
your
yeah.
ears were ringing all the way from France, but it
So
was fun.
it's very interesting. I I do feel maybe like opaques are a little less sophisticated in some respects. They begin to be kind of circus colors, and I work to make that not happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this is circus at all.
Mm-mm.
Maybe it's because I'm careful not to have too much red and too much yellow. At
Right.
the same time, to me, those two colors kind of immediately kind of take me to another. It takes me to something representational
Right.
rather than kind of the mix that I'm kind of playing with. I also have a real love for opaque whites,
Mm-hmm.
and so white beads for me become it's not just a neutral. It's really a bead to show off the other beads.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have some of those white beads in there to kind of make the other beads pop a little bit.
And does that bracelet have a clasp, M?
It does. It has a little toggle.
There it is.
Yeah, hidden as possible.
Oh,
So
so good. So
yeah,
good.
fun, isn't it? And it's interesting. I'm looking at this by looking at my camera on the back of my phone, the screen on the back of my phone, and I can really see the whites kind of popping out now.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, having those little bits of white, I think help settle down this color just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of puts it in
Agreed.
place a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
um,
good.
so the Christmas beads, I feel like they always have this yellow kind of cast to them. And I remember John Picard saying one time that at one time when we were at the Trade Bead Museum in Monterey, that yellow beads were really the most popular in Africa.
Hmm.
And it really goes with a certain skin color. And it really has a lot of pop and a lot of vibrancy. And I think that's super interesting. I would never have thought of that as a
Mm-hmm.
reason, or I would never have even understood that it might make something a color more popular. But I think if we're looking at darker skin, yellow does really kind of come forward and has
Mm-hmm.
more visibility, maybe than it might on my very pale skin, right, or my
Mm-hmm.
slightly suntanned skin. Um, so having that kind of yellow vibrancy for me, and I would look at this again if I was trying to kind of dissect this one in itself. I would look at it through slightly blurred eyes so that the colors that came up in that view for me would definitely be the yellows and then the
Mm-hmm.
reds. Those are two that are really kind of coming forward for me. But there is a nice bridge of some oranges in here. And that kind of leads me to kind of my next thought is getting a mix going where your colors look really good together, but you have to have something that bridges between the colors. Otherwise, you end up with too many colors that are too bright, and they have to have something that kind of eases you from one color to the other, I think,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to have something that begins that is that bridge, and that's really where maybe finish and transparency can really help out. It can be that bridge because it maybe isn't quite as dense a color and it's not quite as vivid a color, but it still has something interesting to kind of add to the party, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of giving you that bridge color between one color and then that next color that's coming along. So I pulled out all of my 11s here.
Oh my
um,
gosh, look at that.
yeah, and I did my rainbow, so my Roy G. Biv, and I have a little stash over on the side here of black and white and some metallic, some silvers, and this one is like a stark smoke gray, color lined or metal lined. And so I think having kind of things again, talking about that color wheel and having the idea in a color wheel that you have colors that have relationships to one another, but they also have push and pull between them is it's really nice to put your colors in this kind of color order for trying to do something in a mix. Now, I know you've seen this with Kate and Janice before, but I think it's really great to use some kind of a small white dish for your mixing. And it can be any white dish. I mean, you can get a white mug out of the cupboard or a teacup, or, I mean, these are from my old Crate and Barrel, my old alma mater. But, you know, at the dollar store, at the Goodwill, you know, a ramekin, whatever turns you on. But something that's kind of white and neutral for mixing, I think is really great. And Kate will second me on this, but I love a little teaspoon.
Yeah, 100%, Emily.
So having some kind of a small measuring device is really a nice one. Look at this one that I got from Cynthia a million years ago.
I have that same one. I love that spoon.
Right?
I have that too.
Having a little something that you can mix with to control what you're doing. I'm not going to mix a whole tube of any of these in my mix to start with. I mean, I want to not have brown, right? I want to not have a dynamic color mix. I want to have something that is repeatable. I'm going to take some notes. I know that's super boring, but I'm going to take some notes so that I can replicate it as I want, because there's nothing like having 5 or 6 tubes of beads around here like I have that are mixes that I don't know what's in that mix. I have no idea. I would have to unmix some of it to figure it out, and I don't want to do that. That's boring, right?
Right.
Come on. And then, you know, looking around for some inspiration, I found this pouch on my design wall, which is a big bulletin board wall that I have here in my studio. That is sort of my, it's my visible notebook. You know, I pin things up there that I want to think about, or that I just don't have a spot for yet, and in the rest of my designs. And so it's kind of, it's messy and it evolves all the time. And there's, you know, things hanging up there that I've had for a long time. I think I got these in Tucson.
That is gorgeous, Emily.
Maybe from, I can't remember that lady's name. I don't remember. She was always sort of near us, but I really loved this.
I love that pattern.
Vivid maroon, and I thought the sage gray and the ivory and the white, and then this really dark navy, all kind of went together really nicely and might like make a really beautiful mix. So I thought I would try and play around with that a little bit today, and just kind of give you kind of how I would do, you know, what I would do if I was going to do this. If this was, you know, a project for me. But I really like all these colors, and I think I can make up the colors from what I have in my stash. And I'm actually going to preview some colors first. I'm not going to make a commitment to these yet. So in other words, I'm not going to go hog wild pouring colors into.
Would you move the cameras just so we can see the tubes on your? Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna do a little sort of choosing, and some of these colors are going to look really similar. Like they're going to look so super close that you're going to be like, how is she going to pick? How are you going to pick between those? But and I'm looking. Yes, I'm looking to replicate this, but I'm also looking to make a mix that pleases me. And I know that my proportions here are going to be primarily that maroon pinkish red in the background. That's going to be kind of the big color. And then it's going to be small amounts of the navy blue or an indigo blue and an ivory, or a pale yellow and ivory and a green, sagey green. So I want to find those kind of amongst my mixes.
Right.
This guy is a Picasso one. It has a lot of
so nice
fun things to say.
What I like, Emily, that you're doing here is you're thinking about the percentages. For the monthly mix, when I do it, I don't always think in percentages. Usually our monthly mixes are, you know,
Equal.
the same
Right.
amount because, we make such a large amount. And if we put a smaller amount in, we might not have enough in one tube or too much in another of something. So when you're making your own mixes, I think that's a really great thing to also add in there. And I need to remember that, I think, um, to skew the mix one way or another, to think about, well, what's your base bead? What's you know, your your spices that are going in there or whatever. But I think that's a great way to think about it for sure.
They're actually the same color. Good to know. Good. I've
Good
got
to
two
know.
of those. That's
Good.
good.
Good one.
That's very good. So I want to find another blue because I've kind of got three, kind of working with like three of each. I wonder if that's the same again. Golly, sometimes I'm so stinking predictable. Matte opaque cobalt. So one thing I started to do with, and this is Frost Rainbow Nebula Blue. So these are two different colors.
Oh, I love both of those. I love that Frost Nebula.
So one thing I started to do is to tape the label. When you get your beads from Bead Shop, they come
Really
in a
smart.
Ziploc bag with this label on the outside. And the label actually has the name on it. And it also has the code, really easy to find, 114696. So I've actually been taking the label off the bag and gluing them, taping them on here. But I do leave this little bit of information also. Sometimes I need that. But for me, it kind of makes it a little easier to find things. So
Hmm.
I definitely I have added that to my, oh, darn it. I just dropped it on the floor. That's frustrating. One thing. Okay, let me just grab that guy. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. It's like that's the one I needed.
Ah!
It went on the floor. It went on the floor.
You went on the floor. All right. So
I'm just stringing my bead crochet,
are you? I
watching you.
I think I'm kind of close to my combo here.
I
And
love that little bag.
it's cute, isn't it?
It
I mean,
is.
it's kind of almost too small to do anything with. I mean, you could stick a tiny wallet in there, I guess, but
Yeah.
I love that little needle pointed, or I guess it's needle pointed, like the top.
Yeah, it's like that, or it could be woven in there just with a different thread. Who knows? But gosh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, yeah. And it's,
Wow.
it's got a little irregularities around the edges, which
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother me at all.
Mm-mm. In the
So
least.
I think this is I've kind of got I'm into my selecting phase now. So I'm going to edit some things out a little bit. Um, and it doesn't mean that I might not pick two colors for the background. So I do think these reds are too red. But I think these kind of purple magenta-y colors are a lot closer for me. I would have liked them to be a tiny bit brighter, which means that maybe I want to choose slightly darker or duller colors in these other colors to kind of let that be the brightest color in the group, right? Um, and kind of looking at the greens to do replicate this sage green here. This was the one that I grabbed last, the rainbow kiwi. I kind of think that's going to be my friend.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's such a good green too.
although I do like this one too. And I'm kind of editing. I'm going to edit this in kind of two or three edits because not only do I want to replicate the colors that I've got going here, but I also want to replicate that this is a mix that makes me happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that these have some connection with one another and that they kind of play nice together. I think I'm definitely going to have to go with this Duracoat banana for the warmer ivory, and then maybe this rainbow ivory. Interesting. I'm really stuck in the mattes right at the moment. I'm gonna just pull this guy out. which is that opaque. I'm going to put him in actually.
Is that Picasso?
This is the matte canary yellow Picasso.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like that bead does not always get the recognition it deserves. I've been using that actually a lot lately because since the base bead is so bright, you really see that Picasso on there.
Yeah, it's really pretty. And the holes are very I want to say the holes are very dirty. They're very dark. And so it is the part where it's a very subtle part of what you see, but you do see it. And don't be alarmed if you handle Picassos a bunch that you notice that your hands are a little bit dirty. Picasso finishes are, like I said, that last finish in the process, and you may have a little transfer. It's usually pretty subtle, and it's usually all over. But JP actually texted me yesterday, and she's like, "Why are my fingers looking like this?" And I was like, "It's okay. It's Picasso. Don't worry. You're fine." You know. Now looking at these three blues to kind of replicate this dark blue, I'm going to have to keep the Picasso.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that one really, these other ones are too purpley, and they're not dark enough. So.
And the Picasso is also invoking kind of the feeling of your inspiration piece as well. You know, that is kind of it's not a shiny contemporary bag. It's more of an ethnic kind of, has some texture to it, so that Picasso really, I think, goes well with it.
Yeah, I agree. So my next round of edits, this rainbow dark red, I think, is gonna not make the cut. And I'm still looking at my background here, and I'm beginning to think that this guy is gonna be the one, which is also, I don't have a name for it, but 313 SF, I think is going to be kind of the combo.
That's a pretty bead.
So banana may not make the cut. It may end up being those 5 colors. So there's the dark blue, though I would wish for a little more purple. There's my ivory. There's my off-white. There's my sage green. And there's my background.
Right.
So now, proportion-wise, that's kind of our next adventure. So proportion-wise, we're really seeing this ivory is the smallest proportion, right? And I'm just going to grab a little bit of paper and a writing utensil. Oh my God, you should see my work surface here. It's I'm working on just about the size of what you're seeing on the screen.
Right, yeah, the tiniest little space. Yeah. Same, Emily. Right? I still have projects from before I left for my trip that are just sitting here looking at me going, "You ever going to put me away?" The answer is not today.
Well, I've had to clean up a couple times this week, for different shows, and then starting my own work too. So, so I'm gonna say that my background color is really the largest percentage for sure, and I'm gonna assign it a percentage of maybe about 60%.
Okay.
Could even be a little bit more. Could be 70%. I'm going to assign it kind of the large percentage, and then kind of the small percentage is going to be this very pale ivory, and that's going to be like 5%. So let's try kind of a 70% in the 313 SF, and in the 5% in the 4691, which is the frosted ivory. And then, yeah, we're getting rid of banana. He's out. Peace out, banana.
Banana's out.
Banana's out.
Bye, banana.
So we're at 75% right now. And I have 3 more colors to go. and they're at about equal percentages to one
Mhm.
another, right?
Right.
I've got like 1, 2, 3, maybe a little bit bending a little tiny bit more to that canary yellow, but
Right.
only a really, really small amount, right? So if I say now that I'm going to have about, we have 25, so I need about
So it's about
10,
8%.
8 to 8%, 8,
8
is
8, 8,
24.
and 8 is 24.
Right,
So
right. Thank you for helping me with the math. It's
no
not always
problem. I had to use my calculator. Don't think that I pulled that right off the top of my head. There's
perfect.
no
Thank
way.
you.
I got you.
5, 18. Okay.
It's
So these are
8.33
percentages.
is what it is.
Pardon?
It was 8.33 if we
Perfect.
want
Thank
to
you.
get,
Thank
you
you.
know.
So these are percentages, and this is just going to be kind of a rough percentage because that's really the best I can do, right? I'm going to mix this using my tiny spoon from Cynthia because I can.
Mhm.
And I'm going to assign that tiny spoon, the full tiny spoon is going to be about 30%. Okay. So what I'm going to be able to do then is do 2 of them and a little bit to get my 70% of my maroon, right? So let me just say, mix in small quantities because you can always remix it if you have the percentages.
Mhm.
I need a little bit more to make that 70, right? And now I'm going to get about 5. So if I'm looking at this as 30%, 30, I'm going to actually do like a sixth of it. So just a tiny little smidge of that ivory. And now I can do a little bit more of each of the other 2. And I know my container looks a little bit big. That's okay. I'm going to put it into something smaller because it'll look more normal. We get to something a little bit smaller. So mixing in small quantities, if I had to unmix this, and there's been times where I needed 10 more of those beads, and so I've had to unmix something. If you have to unmix something, you can absolutely do it when it's a small amount. It's when it's a big amount that it makes you a little bit crazy, right? So, not have I do. I'm going to scale down to a smaller container. So now I feel like I have a mix that represents kind of what's going on in this texture over here, in this fabric over here, right? And I feel like I could go ahead and use this mix to represent that.
Mhm.
So if I had an inspiration like this is the process that I would kind of go through, right? If I didn't have an inspiration and I was just trying to come up with an interesting mix of beads kind of out of the air, you know, I would still probably do this sort of the same process. And again, having beads that kind of bridge the gap between others. I love a rainbow, and so I did this. I showed you guys this one this week with Delicas with the 27 colors because I don't have any
Mhm.
limits.
I just oh god, I
On
love
my own
that bracelet.
on my own thing, I have 0 limits on my own stuff, right? If I'm doing this for me, no one's paying me for this. I'm not going to sell it. I can't sell bead crochet because it takes too long to
Yeah.
make. And I can't tell someone that this bracelet is going to be $70 when there are similar bracelets made in foreign countries that are $18. And I just can't compete with that. So it's totally fine to do something for yourself that's not practical, right? And
Mhm.
I definitely do that. Even if I'm investigating something that I might sell, I definitely do things that aren't practical, right? Um,
Mhm.
so even making a mix like this, kind of a real lovely rainbow, I would kind of go through the same process that I did to make something with an inspiration piece. But the process might be a little faster because it's going to be based on what I might love, right? And I might go through this same kind of color scheme to get a rainbow color combo. And I might try and pick colors that relate to that next color that's coming along, and make sure that I have some colors that transition from one color to the next so that I can have kind of a true or a kind of a classic rainbow of colors. And I think it's as easy as whatever makes your eye happy. I know when Kate gets into mixing and is making a mix of beads, she's looking to satisfy and make her eye happy.
Yeah,
And
100%.
you're looking at what colors please you. You're looking at what colors you think go well together. I think one of the things you might find when you do something like this is you might find that you have an innate color sensibility that's only yours and yours alone. It's not related to anyone else's, right? And so that's perfectly normal and it's perfectly legit, and it should be where you should be thinking about all this stuff, is finding that color scheme that makes you happy and makes you feel satisfied with the color scheme. I mean, I might pick a rainbow, something like that. Let me pull out just a little bit. How many beads? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 21. Not terribly practical, this mix.
But
22.
really nice.
But really nice. And I would do the same thing with adding, I might add some black and white and some gray into this to again give it a little bit of balance. All right. And you can certainly kind of come in with some metallics. I'm quickly passing 21. I'm up to 25 now. This is why my mixes tend to be large. Oh, I might want to bring that gold in there, down in there, right? And I tried to pick some colors that help me move from one color to the next. Okay. I want to have some colors, and sometimes it's about rearranging a little bit so that you get my color combination happening. Some colors that help me move from one color to the next to make my eye kind of help with that transition a little bit. And now my colors blend a little bit better and kind of fall a little bit more naturally kind of together, right? So, and I'm talking about making bead combinations for bead crochet at this moment. But if you were to substitute in for any one of these colors, a size 8 and a cube, and you know what I'd love to mix in with these? I think I have them right here. They don't get a lot of love, actually. They haven't been getting a lot of love lately. But they would bring us some other color combinations. These are like the little Delica drops. And also the little spacer beads, right? Oh, that's a Picasso. I want him in there too.
I like the way this is looking, though.
Right? Maybe I'm going to boot that guy out for that one. And, oh yeah. That thought. Oh yeah. See, I didn't really have a base green that I really liked in there. So I'm going to squeege that guy in. Right? And I'm going to boot him out, that vermilion, for that guy. That's a bugle bead. So I have my beads from Bead Shop. I'm having too many choices. I have my beads from Bead Shop set up by size, and then I actually lay them out kind of by color as well. That might be a fun one to have in there. So I have all the same beads together, and maybe some 8s, maybe bringing that gold lined 8 that's kind of expensive but super pretty. bringing that guy in and booting out this ivory. All right. So if you want to pull in some shapes to play around with, I think this is a really a great one. So Margaret says, didn't you initially pick the shorter tube of sage green just above those you've lined up? One of these guys up here? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you put it. I think you.
Did I edit it out?
Yeah, you edited it.
Yeah,
edited it. There was another.
The process.
There was another quick question that was a while back, Em, but I didn't want to jump in. Someone asked, what is your favorite piece of jewelry to wear?
Oh.
I know. That I thought I'd throw that curveball right in there for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I've kind of moved away from earrings a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this happened when I started wearing glasses full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we had the mask thing happening, it was two things going on.
Right, too much.
Too much. I really love necklaces and bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
And I love bracelets because you get to look at them on your wrist.
Same. Bracelet, I think, is my favorite.
And so it's fun to kind of have a stack of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of nice. I do love necklaces, long necklaces, and necklaces with pendants, particularly.
Because it's fun to layer necklaces too.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I guess it's bracelets and necklaces. You know, I also have on Saturdays I do my farmers market and I sell jewelry, and I don't get a lot of inquiries for anklets at the moment, which is has maybe just sort of trended out. Toe rings also have trended out. I make rings for people. So
I do. Yes.
Some folks that look for rings. I don't get a lot of people looking for brooches or pins, although I kind of like brooches and pins.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir right here.
You know? So there's that. You know, I don't make things that I wear in my hair very often. I don't have very long hair anymore, so having something like a barrette or something in my hair isn't one of the things I do. But and I don't get a lot of inquiries for that. So people just don't come by and say, "Hey, do you have, you know, some kind of a hair clip
or whatever?" Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't get a lot of inquiries for it. So I think bracelets and necklaces are kind of my jam. I do wear rings. I like wearing rings, but I have just a couple that I wear kind of all the time, and I have more cocktail rings that I might wear, special occasion rings, you know.
Yeah.
There. So
same.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
I'm glad you're practicing. Good job.
I'm almost up to 20 inches. So just
awesome.
Three more segments to go. I'm not beating very quickly. Shall I put all this back on?
Sure. I mean, I hope that this gives you guys some inspiration and some courage to get out there and do something with your beads that you have and making some mixes. You know, I love that Kate and Bead Shop publishes all their mixed recipes, and I think it's just really the way to go. You know, it's lovely to have somebody else mix it for you and you love it, but to be able to replicate it later is really important.
Yeah, is important. I think so, because people always ask, "Oh, people want to see what I've done." Well, it just pretty much looks the same. It's just longer. So now we'll double it over. But here it is, you know, and I looked for my crochet hook. So you know what I did? I ordered one from Bead Shop. So it'll be here. So that's why I'm not worried about getting this strung super fast. So I just ordered it. I needed needles. I needed other stuff anyway. So, you know, it was fine.
I know. I always have a Bead Shop order going.
But I didn't express. I did the express or the priority. So
priority shipping. Yeah. I always have a Bead Shop order kind of percolating along, you know. And I have like 5 other orders also going in different places for different things. But
same.
You know, yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I've never had anybody ask me what my favorite kind of jewelry was before, or favorite piece of jewelry.
That's funny. I thought it would kind of shake it up a little bit.
No, I think it's I think it's interesting to think about why we like certain things. And
Yeah, no, and I love earrings. You know me, I'm a big earring gal, but
mm,
it really resonated with me when you said bracelets, though I'm only wearing my watch.
yeah,
You know, when we were over in, teaching in France and stuff, I wouldn't, I always felt so busy or whatever. And I didn't bring that much jewelry, but I did bring a lot of bracelets.
hmm,
So I had a bracelet stack. Um, and I liked looking at it. I thought it
yeah,
was fun. I'm also my other big accessory. It's not jewelry, but
lipstick.
I ate some lunch. I hope you guys didn't notice
I
that
can't.
I was eating.
I have a
I
hard time
felt
with
it was
lipstick.
so
I do better with lip stains,
fun.
but nail
There we go.
polish and lipstick. Nail polish makes my fingertips feel heavy,
Mm,
and
I get it.
I can't do those long nails. I think
No.
it's an interesting art form, and I think it's a very cool kind of
Hmm.
accessory that you can do.
There we go.
But I look at my hands and I can see my dad's hands in my hands, which makes me happy. But I can't do the fancy nails. I can get my toenails done, and I do that every once in a while. But for some reason, nail polish on my fingertips just feels weird.
Yeah,
And
my toes need to get done. And I never used to do my nails. I mean, my nails always were a big old mess. And then I did them. And then a lot of all you folks out there were all, oh, Kate, your nails look great. Your nails look great. And I'm like, oh crap. Now I got to keep it up. So it's been maybe almost a year, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know. I just keep
It'll
my
change
nails
again.
kind of short and workmanlike, and
Yeah. Well, they're still pretty short,
you know,
but
yeah,
uh, we'll see. We'll
yeah.
see.
It's
I've
just
got I got some work coming up. So Leslie says that she's spindled 23 inches so far. So great job,
good job. Yep.
Leslie, on that. Margaret says this deep dive into color mixing has been so interesting. Oh, I'm so glad.
Good.
Great. Sandy's asking, she's always wondered if people make what they wear. I think people do a lot, but I mean, I have quite a few pieces from Emily. I have a few pieces from Cynthia. I love it when people
I
make
have
me
a whole
jewelry.
jewelry box that's Kate stuff on my dresser.
Yeah,
Mm,
I love wearing other people's jewelry for sure, but
yeah.
I do love making. Um, yeah, and it's great. When you wear your own stuff, it's the best. You're the best advertisement,
Oh, absolutely. And I sold a piece off my neck last week, and I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy. I won't wear things I don't want to sell because
Yeah,
then it feels mean.
yeah. No, and the same thing with like the beads and stuff that we carry. If I don't love them or you don't love them or, if we don't love them, if one of us isn't like, yes, we must have these, then we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of it makes me want to go back towards I miss my trade beads. I do a lot of kind of shopping online, looking at trade
Mhm.
beads. I I love those popcorn Picassos because they have some of that feel of them, that they're not perfect and they're not really shiny, and I like looking at those a whole lot.
Yeah, I
You know,
love that they have some weight to them for sure, some
yeah,
gravitas or whatever,
yeah.
right?
I mean, they're a little bit bold, and
Mhm.
and I don't know, was I talking about this with you? When I was a little kid in the dress shops, my mom was not a very big fancy dresser, but occasionally she would take me with her to a ladies' dress shop. They would have these ropes of beads that were endless, and then you would pick several of
Yeah,
them. You
and you
twist it,
twist. Yeah,
and
and
then
you
it had a
put them
clasp
together. Yeah.
together, right? And every time I look at those Picassos, that's what I think I want to do with them, is have a
Oh, yeah, torsade or whatever it's
squad,
called.
yeah, really
Yeah,
big, chunky kind of rope of them. And
yeah,
yeah, I like those a lot. Those have been
yeah,
on my mind kind of a bit. So,
yeah.
and I know there's some other new things coming. JP's picking out that are going to make.
There are, there's one, we've got so much coming up. Um, you're going to see next week, I've got a new bead shop studio drop. This
Nice.
weekend, you're going to see a bunch of you, twister beads. That's what they were called.
Are they
Twister
called twister
beads.
beads?
Yes, I remember that.
I
They were
actually
called
remember. I think my mom had some that were blue and white,
mhm,
kind of a
twister
transparent
beads.
blue and white together. And I
Mhm,
don't think she ever twisted it. I think she always wore them long,
mhm.
kind of vaguely moo Hawaiian moo kind of esque,
Right, yes.
you know, predating Mrs. Roper just
Yeah, just a little bit.
a little bit more like Maud, a little less like Mrs. Roper.
Right, that's
Right?
right. Go Mod.
Just go Maud.
Um, but you folks will see some of you have seen my jet lag is nuts. So I worked till like 1:30 in the morning. So if you did get a shipping notification that said 1:30, that's actually when I was shipping,
Uh,
you guys. This jet lag is going to kill me. Um and but I'm slowly getting back.
well,
So
I'm getting up at 5 a.m. now because it's so cool in the morning here.
yeah, you've got to
I'm
get
just
that stuff.
trying to
Yeah.
figure it out. Like I can take a nap now at 3 o'clock
Yeah, and
because
it's
I've been up
okay.
since
Yeah.
5.
Well, and if you know me, you know that I don't stay up till 1:30 in the morning. It's like 9:30, I'm all right, time for bed because I get up early, but now I'm going to sleep really late. I'm getting up really early, but
Yeah.
whatever, it'll all regulate. So you're going to see all those buttons. Everything that you've ordered from Bead Shop Studio, my friends, is coming out. And then this weekend, I'm working on all of the mystery bags, the mix bags. So you'll see those coming out because on Tuesday we're going to have a new Bead Shop Studio drop, and then I'm going to work with a lot of Bead Shop Studio stuff that's was coming down the pike or has been coming down the pike on next Wednesday's show. So that's going to be kind of a creative explosion. Pat's saying great show. She learned so
Yeah, I
much.
see some hearts going by. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
We super appreciate it, and I miss in person so much. And this is a close second, but I miss in person because we did range off into other things,
Yeah,
while we were teaching you how to do pearl knotting or whatever. And I just think I almost feel like we could do this like once a month and include Janice in
yeah,
well, and just have a kind of a basic topic, but we all talk about how
yeah.
we approach that
How
topic.
we approach things. Well,
So,
it's a great idea. I'll put it in the next time we have some empty
yeah,
spots. I'll tell you.
I mean, we could talk about pearl knotting. We have enough opinionated people that we could talk about pearl knotting a couple of times
Yeah,
for sure. And it's there's so much stuff that we talk about amongst ourselves that we just may as well include everybody
it'd
in.
be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun to include. My mom is putting up here. I am moving my studio on Sunday afternoon. It is true. It's going back into storage out from my new studio space, but I will give you some updates. I'm hopeful. We'll find a spot, but it's going back in.
Elaine, I'm
So
glad you enjoyed that, and
it's going.
um, I want to see what you guys do with mixes.
Yeah.
I want to see the beads you chose, and then I want to see the mix, and then I want to see what you made with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And my friends, don't forget, today it is Friday, June 21st. We've got a viewer exclusive coupon code. It is 2-day only. Enter Mix25, the coupon code at checkout, and it'll knock 20% off on all Miyuki. That means all the 8s, the 6s, the 11s, the 15s, the other Miyuki shapes, plus the check glass beads, age check, all of them, all the fire polish, all of it. So it's a
Polish.
good day
I
to
do need to
stock
order
up
some fire polish.
for your mix. What's that, Em?
I need to order some fire polish.
Well, you know what to do.
I do.
You know what to do. All right. Well, Emily Miller, thank you so much. Was
You're so
really,
welcome, Kate.
really
My
great.
pleasure.
Whoops, I didn't mean to solo that. I meant to do that. There we are. There we are. Um, we will yes, 25. Did I say 25% off? I it's there, right
Yep,
there. Mixed
there it is.
25.
Mix 25. Look at that.
25% off. It's there. So thanks again. I'll see you folks next week with a new studio drop. We've got a lot of stuff coming up as usual. Now that I'm back from my whirlwind European tour. And then we've got the next retreat coming up. Emily, we're going to miss you a
I
lot.
know. I know.
Um,
I am building up new ideas,
I
and
love it.
I'm so jelly that you guys are going to get to spend the weekend with Cynthia.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, we'll have Cynthia. We'll all be together.
Is Cecilia coming too?
Yeah, she is. It's
Oh,
going to be fun.
nice.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention before I forgot, we did have a spot just open up in the Bead retreat. Drea is going to post it in the newsletter, but if you were thinking, oh, I really want to go, but there's no space, there is one space open. It is available right now on the website. So
And it was
it's
a
not too
much
late to
better
sign up.
time. The weather was much nicer last year in August than it had been in September. We're still learning, I guess, not being in the Bay Area, not being in the mountains where,
Yeah.
September here was last year, September, we had 100 a day. It was 114.
Yeah, September gets hot. That
Yeah.
is for sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to be beautiful. San Juan Bautista is gorgeous. There's a lot of really fun stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun there.
Absolutely.
So if you want that spot, just jump over. We'll check it, and if you not, you'll see it again tomorrow in the newsletter. Well, I've got the planes. I've got the 144th Flight Wing flying over. So
nice.
I'm gonna. So I don't know if you can hear them. That's good because it sounds like they're right over my house. Anyway, so thank you, Emily. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic
you too. Stay cool. Hydrate a lot.
Hang in there. Don't forget, you can find us on all of our socials, Facebook, Pinterest, Insta. You can hit that like and subscribe button over at beadshop.com. And if you have any questions, go ahead. Drea's on the other side of the keyboard at info@beadshop.com. So thanks again, Em. We'll see you very soon. And I'll see all you all next week. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Have a great day, everybody.